It's Ivy Slater, and you're listening to Her Success Story podcast, a show where gutsy businesswomen share their success journey. Hi, this is Ivy Slater. Welcome to today's episode of Her Success Story. I have a fascinating guest today, somebody who every time we jump on Zoom, we have to remind ourselves to stay focused on the conversations because what we talk about is always so interesting. Janine Firpo was an accomplished speaker, author, and social entrepreneur with a long history of working at the intersection of women and their money. For many years at Apple Computer in senior positions, Hewlett-Packard, World Bank, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Janine has always found a way of making an impact. I have to be honest, when I first met Janine, we said, let's put this into a regular portion of Her Success Story. But with the nonprofit series coming up around the corner, it was so tempting to move it. But I think we're going to keep it as is and still touch on an amazing woman with amazing mission, amazing drive. And I have to say, in her retirement, she decided to write a book, Activate Your Money, Invest to Grow Your Wealth and Build a Better World. It was published by Wiley. Today, she is co-founder of, I'm going to actually, Janine, have you share more because I can go on and on about you, but it's so much more interesting when you talk about you than our listeners hearing me talk about you. So I'm going to lead it in. So in your retirement, most people might travel the world. They might pick up new hobbies. What did you decide to do, Jean, in your retirement?
So I retired, what I say is from a salary in my early 60s. And, I have a lot of longevity in my family. I have an aunt, for example, who's 104 years old and still mentally and physically there. And I have longevity on both sides of my family. And what I realized was I could live well with energy and my mental faculties for another 30 plus years.
Wow.
Was 2 careers for me. So in the 35 plus years of my career, I had 2 different careers. It's like, what am I going to do for 35 plus years? You can only travel so much. I feel like life for me, if it doesn't have purpose, if it doesn't have meaning, and if I'm not contributing, then I'm not living a full life. And so I knew that when I retired, something new would come up for me. I didn't know what that would be. But what it turned out to be was this reality that women don't really feel confident around their money at all. And we're going through one of the biggest wealth transfers this country has ever seen. By 2030, we will control close to 40% of the money in this country. And what's really interesting is when women do step into their financial power, we do it very, very differently than men. And
talk to me more about that.
How we do it differently than men?
100%. Yes.
Okay. So there are a couple of different ways. I mean, if you get really practical about it, when we invest, we want to be more aware of risk. We're less likely to just shoot from the hip. We want to understand the risk when we take it. In the stock market, we're more likely to invest in funds rather than individual companies. We like to learn from other women rather than doing it all alone. So there are different ways we do it. And actually, our approach helps us be better investors. Research shows that when we do invest, we outperform men. We also outperform them when we run companies. So the fact that we're so reluctant to do these things is really unfortunate because we don't even realize how good we are at it. But we also invest in different kinds of things. So when men invest, they're investing, and I'm speaking general terms here.
Of course, Janine.
Primarily for financial return. That's all they care about. It's like, can they beat this? Can they beat that? For women, we need more than that. We care, of course, about our financial return, but we also want to know what our money is doing in the world, the impact it's having, and what it's creating. And that's a very different approach. And so I realized all of this and I thought, wow, I've been an impact investor, a values-aligned investor for 20 years. I realized that a lot of other women wanted to do this. And I realized that I could help them. And I've been investing for over 40 years. I've learned a lot. I know a lot of people who are financial advisors and angel investors and venture capitalists, a lot of women doing these things. And nobody ever taught us this stuff. And so I decided I would start by writing a book to help women understand. And then while I was writing the book, I wanted women to learn in groups. And I met another woman named Ellen Remmer who lives in Boston. I'm in the Bay Area. And she was putting women into groups and teaching them these skills. And we decided there's no point in us doing this separately. We might as well come together. And so
Join forces, two great minds has a bigger impact, right? The more we multiply, the greater the impact.
exactly. So in September of 2021, we co-founded a nonprofit called Invest for Better. And we've been putting women in small groups of 8 to 20 women and taking them through a facilitated curriculum to teach them how to be more confident investors and how to put their money to work for the things they care about. So that's what we've done. Had about 2,500 women go through our training so far.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how did this become, or how does this, so it started as a concept and then it has, as many things, Janine, morph and transition is, we have to always get started. We get started with hopefully a passion and a mission, hopefully. Okay. And in this case, it's truth.
Right.
Where did it go and how did it develop from there into what is now a 501c3, which is a registered nonprofit? And what is the difference that it's making?
So the way it started is the way things have been starting for me for a long time. So I retired at the end of 2017. And 2018, I just sort of was like sitting with, well, what's important to me? What do I want to work on? And I played around with different things. And then this idea came into my head about maybe I should write a book. And I was really grappling with that. Should I write a book? Should I not write a book? And then I got, for me, something that was kind of a sign that I should. And I said, okay, I get it. That's what I should be doing now. So I function a lot off of my intuition. I function a lot off of what shows up. I function a lot off of paying attention to those kinds of things. So for me, that's kind of how this all came about. And then when I met Ellen and we started talking, she and I talked for about a year and a half, maybe, until we realized that we liked each other, that we worked well together, that there was possibility here. And
So you
that's
tested the synergy between the two of you.
first.
I agree with that. And I agree in dating before we move in together. And that's how I refer to it when I'm working with companies that are mergers of different things
Right.
or starting something new together. Update.
Yeah, exactly. So I've done that in the past and I'm doing it again. We're doing it again now with another group that we're starting to do a little bit of work with. And so you get to know people and you get to know, are you of like mind? Do you trust these people? Do they have integrity? Do they do what they say they're going to do, etc.
So it's testing, I think that what I'm hearing you say is value alignment. Is integrity alignment, value alignment. I don't care what coast we're living on, but are we showing up at the same water fountain, drinking the same?
Right, exactly. And for me now, truly, and actually for a large part of my career, there's also something in the people that I work with. It's like, where are they? What is really driving them? Are they driven by ego? Is this about something related to building a name or whatever it is? Or is this coming more from a place of service? And so I'm more inclined at this stage of my life, and actually I've been inclined this way for a while, is to want to interact with and work with people who are coming from a place of service
Yeah.
than a place of ego.
You have these groups running.
Mm-hmm.
How can our listeners learn more about the group if they wanted to know? And we're not at the end of the show, listeners. I'm curious. I'm asking for not just you, but for myself and other women I know.
We run cohorts of circles twice a year, and we also offer free webinars every month. And we do other things as well. And we inform women about what's happening in the space. So the best way to get involved is just to go to Invest for Better, the word. So it's investforbetter.org/membership. And you can become a member by just simply giving us your name and your email address. It's 100% free. And when you become a member, you get a Get Started guide from us, and then you'll get a newsletter from us twice a month. So it's not overwhelming. And that newsletter will tell you when we're going to have webinars, what they are, how to join them, when we're going to run a circle again, information about that, other courses we may offer, courses that our community is offering, other opportunities, news in this space, all of that, 100% free.
So everything's cost money. Platforms cost money. Is this how it transformed into a 501c3 and how do you, once you take that step into a nonprofit, how do you start running that as that, with a nonprofit is a business? How has
So
that morphed and transformed on the back end?
So interestingly enough, I started a nonprofit in 2005, and it was called SaveX Solutions. So back in 2005, I was working at Hewlett-Packard. I was part of an organization there called E-Inclusion. And the idea behind E-Inclusion was, could Hewlett-Packard build business lines that were doing well for the company financially, but also serving the poor around the world? And while I was working at HP, we developed a technology for microfinance, which is giving small loans to women in developing countries. We developed a technology solution for that. And in 2005, Carly Fiorina, who had been the CEO, was booted out of the company. And when that happened, I realized this work that I just spent a couple of years on is going to die.
Oh, wow.
I was doing the work with a bunch of nonprofits in the microfinance space, like Grameen and Axion and a bunch of them. And so what we ended up doing is I got them all to agree that they were willing to give the IP away. And I got HP to agree that they would let us have the IP. So we created a nonprofit called SaveX Solutions, and we rolled out the IP from Hewlett-Packard into that nonprofit so that anybody who wanted to use the technology solution that we created could. So I'd had this nonprofit for years, and I'd actually used it as a platform during a period of my career, but it had been dormant for about 7 years. And so when Ellen and I decided to create Invest for Better, we knew from the beginning that a financial model would be hard. And we just didn't want to go down that path. Neither of us were looking to build a company. Ellen was retired as well. We're both retired. It's like our goal is not to spend the next 10 years building some big company.
Right.
Our goal was to find a way to serve women. And it just felt like the nonprofit approach was a better way to do that. Particularly when we started, we were really lean and mean, and we didn't need a lot of money to do what we were trying to do. And so it's like, well, I already had this nonprofit that is structured around women and money. We can just rename it and repurpose it slightly and take my old nonprofit and make it into this new function. And so that's what we did.
So I know you and Ellen have been working on something. And I'm going to push here a little bit because I would love you to share more about what you're working on. I know we don't have an exact launch date. Is it a 2025? Is it 2026? But it is so incredibly powerful and so important. And so many of our listeners are women leaders that I don't want them to miss out. Are you open to sharing a little bit more, and then they can stay tuned and follow you and follow Invest for Better and learn as it comes about? Because it's amazing.
Sure. Well, thank you for asking. So, yes. So, although we do these circles that I described to you, our real mission is to catalyze a movement. We want millions of women to be aware of the power and the potential of their money to change the world. And we realize that we're not going to get there through these circles. The numbers that we've reached, we're proud of, but it's a drop in the bucket compared to millions, right? We started thinking about this and we realized that there are literally hundreds of other women who are working in similar ways, who are really working at the intersection of women, their money, values, empowerment, and we're all struggling to be heard. And so it made us think about, what if we came up with a marketing campaign that was a big enough umbrella that all of us could fit underneath one set of messaging, and we all shared that messaging at exactly the same time? Could we begin to get the kind of volume that we really want in terms of touching women and making them aware of the possibility? And so we already have over 200 women who have said they will participate in this. And we're
Wow.
looking at launching a marketing campaign in November under the theme of the she economy. And the idea,
So what is that idea? What does that mean? The she economy. What does that mean to the average person? I was like, okay, that's a really cool brand name. I like it a lot. What does that encompass? What does that mean to us?
well, what it means to us is we're asking the question of data. What would the world look like today if women had been equal part of the economy for the last 100 years, equal to men in the economy?
I need clarification because I've been in this workforce for over 40 years as well. Okay. So you're talking about that our mothers or grandmothers
Mhm.
were 100% equal partners in the workforce. So back in the day when I got started, the one in the room in the boardroom who was in a buttoned up shirt and a pseudo tie to fit in,
Mhm.
there would have been, if there was 20 in that room, there would have been 10 and 10.
Right?
Okay.
We're
I
talking
just want you to, I want you to really see this picture.
Yes. So we're talking women would be equal in the workforce, they'd be equal in the boardroom, they'd be equal CEOs, they would be getting the same amount of money as men for startups, not 2% of venture capital, but
Right.
50% of venture capital. They would have their own money, they would be investing at the same rate of men, they would be as educated about all of this stuff as men, they would be as confident as men, etc. If all of that had been true 100 years ago, the world would look really, really different than it does today, because our investments would have gone to different things. So, for example, we're coming up with headlines that we can support by data of some of those changes. Cervical cancer would be eradicated. Why would it be eradicated? Because we would have made dang sure that women were getting tested. And if women
Ah,
were getting tested, then we wouldn't have this problem. You know, one of the things that has been an issue for women is that card test dummies traditionally, and this has changed, but traditionally, these dummies were all male bodies.
all male bodies, all male sized bodies, 100%.
Right?
It wasn't until like in the I will say the more recent years that we had a true representation of a family.
Right. Exactly. Do you think if we had been equal partners for the last 100 years, we'd have a childcare crisis today? I don't think so.
Not really.
Do you think there'd be a pay gap? I don't think so.
Not really. Which means, Janine, you and I are owed a lot of money.
You're right. Yes. Reparations for women. Right. So that's very tongue in cheek. And I don't really mean that.
But I think in these kind of important conversations, one of the great things about them is we can keep a sense of humor, not because the conversation is funny by any means,
Mhm.
but if we don't learn from history and we don't pay attention to it and kind of keep a chuckle going like, wow, what were we thinking?
Right.
That's a more ambitious, fun way to create change than anger,
Exactly.
resentment. That's
Right.
harder to create change then.
And so that's what we're going to do is we're painting a picture through this campaign of what could be possible for families, for communities, for women, for the planet, all of that. A very positive outcome. And part of the message of the campaign is it doesn't have to be a fantasy. It can actually be real. And we can help make it real by the way we invest and the decisions we make with how we spend and use our money.
And you're looking to collaborate with other organizations. This isn't like, let us stand out and be the forerunner. This is 100% women-centric because it's 100% about collaboration.
100%. It's not even our brand. It's not Invest for Better. It's a whole completely different brand. We're spearheading it, but it's not our brand. I mean, we may say inspired by Invest for Better on it, but it is not our brand. It is a separate brand. And the other thing is that when women see the video and the social media assets that we're putting out there, it will take them to a website, and we were going to have a 100-day challenge on that website. And every week, women will be able to choose from different actions that they can take right now, easy to take more control over their money and to start thinking about how to move their money into things that are more aligned with their values. So we're going to actually, through this, not only raise women's awareness, but give them real actionable things that they can do. And those actionable things will not be all coming from Invest for Better. They will be coming from all these different women who are part of this campaign. So it's a very much an equal opportunity and collaborative effort. I'm a huge believer in collaboration. I had over 150 women help me write my book. So I collaborated there as well.
So, Janine, what is one thing you've had a vast career and you might be, and as I'll put in quotes, retired right now, but you really have not slowed down or stopped. You've just transformed and transitioned, so to speak.
Right.
What has surprised you in doing this work today?
What has surprised me, how many women are showing up around it? I mean, I think it really is touching a chord, and I think it's really something that matters. And I've been really delighted by the number of women who have said yes to being part of this campaign as well.
I love that. What is one tip for other leaders that you have learned that you would share with our listeners today?
I think, if I look back on my career and I look at what has helped me, I think it's really been integrity and showing up. When I say I'm going to do something, I do it. And I
Love that.
even if I made a promise to someone and I said, I will deliver this to you by date X, and it was going to be hard on me to make that happen, I'd still make it happen. Or I'd say, could I have a little more time? But I always stood by my promises, and I always did what I said I was going to do. And I think that level of honesty and integrity, what it does is it builds a tremendous amount of trust around you. People trust you. You are elevated in their opinions, and so they speak well of you to others. And at the end of the day, that is what really is a huge part of our success, is the relationships that we have and the way people view us. So for me, it's all about doing what you say, delivering when you say, standing in your integrity, and being true to yourself.
I love that. Janine, thank you so much for joining me on Her Success Story today, for sharing not just your journey, but your mission, your passion, and, Invest for Better in what it's doing today and where the vision is for tomorrow and how we can continue to learn from.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciated being here. It was fun talking to you.
And listeners, this is what I say at this point. Take a deep breath in. Think about from listening to the conversation that Janine and I had and identify one thing, one takeaway, aha. What was the one piece that resonated with you? Jot it down somewhere and then make a decision on what's one action you can take. I always say, it's wonderful to have people listening into Her Success Story, and I appreciate it to no end. What we can do is think about the consistent actions that creates great movement. And if every time we listen in, we take away one action, we are consistent in our motions forward, in our own leadership, in our businesses, and with the impact of people like Janine, changing the world one little baby step at a time for a better place for all of us. So if this episode was helpful to you and you have somebody to share it forward with, of course, please share it. Hit subscribe for more wonderful, wonderful episodes coming forward. And I will see you next time on Her Success Story. Thank you for joining us.